we know that we have a wonderful mix of people on this morning. We won't take time to do introductions, but if you will, go to the picture of yourself and click on the three dots. And where it says rename, if you could put the name of your organization next to your name, that would be awesome. I'm going to do that myself so that you can see me do it if you've not done that before. My name is Pat Reeves, and I am one of the co-directors, along with Dr. Zhenping Shen, of the High Impact Leadership for School Renewal process. So I have other members of the HIL team on with us today, but we have members of individual districts who are invited to be in the pool of schools to participate in this project. And we also have members of the ISDs that serve those districts. So welcome everyone, whether you're an ISD, a local district, or one of the HIL team. We'll jump right in. Again, we're going to spend about 20 minutes with some information. But before we get started, we've created a way to capture your voice and get your voice in the room. So Lisa Ryan, my colleague, has put two links in the chat. One link is to the slide deck for this morning's meeting, and you're welcome to download the slides and use them to communicate with others in your organization. Also, the second link is to the Jamboard, and I'm just going to pull up the Jamboard so you can see what that looks like. And the Jamboard gives you a chance to do two things. One is on the first couple pages, you're welcome to put in a sticky note if there are certain things you already know about the High Impact Leadership for School Renewal model and work that we've done over the last 5 years. You can offer what you already know with a sticky note on pages 1 and 2. And then you can start putting questions into pages, starting with page 3. And if that fills up, you can go to page 4. But we really want to make sure that we take time today to address as many questions as you have. So when we finish with the information slides, we'll come back to this Jamboard and we will start taking the questions that we haven't already answered. So again, welcome, and we will jump right in to our presentation of information. So first of all, I think it's important for us to share with you, who are we? And we are quite an eclectic group. The High Impact Leadership for School Renewal project started in 2017 with Dr. Shen and me as co-directors, but a wonderful group of partners from ISDs and other organizations, and also a wonderful group of people who, many of whom were still employed by ISDs, who became co-members of our team. And so we have people in the field that help coordinate the work, some of whom are on this call this morning. We have people who we refer to as facilitators, who are part of the direct support we provide to the local schools. We have researchers, we have other practitioners who provide expertise and help us understand how to adapt the evidence-based work that we are bringing into school renewal to the current state of affairs in our schools. We have partnerships with state professional associations, the leadership associations, and in particular, GELN. In the past, we've worked closely with the Literacy Essentials Task Force, and we'll be working with the Math Essentials and SEL Task Force as well. We're based out of Western Michigan University, but again, we are out there in the field. In the last few years, we've been predominantly in the western part of the Lower Peninsula. And now with this project funded by the U.S. Department of Ed, we're going to be able to reach out into a broader area of the Lower Peninsula. So we're really excited about that. So I'd like to just share with you a few points about why we do this work and why we believe that the work that we can do with you as partners under this new seed grant is so critical. First of all, we are really focused on accelerating and deepening positive change. And we don't come into your schools and tell you what to change or how to grow. We assume that every school that we work with and every district we work with and every ISD we work with are really far along in identifying focus areas for strategic growth. And over time, you've all adopted important initiatives to try to accomplish that positive change. Our job is to come in and support the implementation of the work that you're already doing. And so we want to focus on and help you increase implementation fidelity and integrity. We define integrity as implementation that fits your district, fits your school, fits the students that you serve. And we feel that implementation fidelity and integrity are the critical combination to make sure that what you're working so hard to implement actually produces the results you want and is sustained over time. And part of that sustaining over time is to empower schools to be the critical unit in your school districts for that implementation to achieve positive change and growth. And in order for our schools to be fully empowered, we believe that we can bring extra resources, extra support, extra practices and help in leadership to make sure that all your school teams are equipped with the best tested practices and processes for leading the positive change work. And finally, and probably most important, our why is to be partners with you as you journey on your journey to increase the rate and degree of student growth. So that is the why for our work. And what we are looking to help you create are teachers who every day create amazing learning opportunities in every classroom for every child. We're looking to help you realize a future where every student thrives as a learner and where principals build shared leadership and support to sustain all of that. So the impact we have made in our work in the first seed grant, we had 5 years to work with a little over 140 schools. And out of that work, we ran very robust evaluation studies with an independent evaluator out of the University of Kentucky. And what that evaluator was able to identify is some pretty impressive impact results. We achieved statistically significant gains in English language arts state assessment, in proficiency rates for students moving from 3rd to 4th to 5th grade. We also achieved statistically significant gains in sustainable leadership practices that have positive association with student achievement and growth in student achievement. And we were able to demonstrate those gains with validated instruments that are great measures of those leadership practices that lead to growth in student achievement. And what's really amazing is that even during COVID, with our second cohort of schools, we achieved effect size on those leadership gains that range from about a 0.81 to a 1.14. Those are amazing effect sizes for work in the area of leadership. So what do we do to try to get that kind of impact? First of all, as I mentioned earlier, we don't come in and bring new initiatives for you to implement. We come in and align with and support the initiatives your district and your schools are already committed to. In doing that, we work with the principals to create safety and support so that the people in the school who have to do the implementation have the support to get through whatever discomfort the implementation might create for them, because change does create discomfort. We also help school teams unpack their initiatives, the initiatives that they're committed to implementing, in ways that isolate and get clarity for everybody in the school about what are the evidence-based practices in that initiative. And specifically, and working in partnership with GELN, as your schools are implementing change, we ask you to really focus in on how those change initiatives can increase success for students in literacy or math or both, and how you can address social emotional learning for students in areas where that part of their experience in school might be interfering with academic success. So whatever your change initiatives are, we're hoping that we can work with you to hone in on those really important practices that help students grow in literacy, math, and social emotional learning and development. And then again, in order to implement positive change, we often have to replace ineffective practices with tested high impact practices. And so we engage in many different strategies, including instructional rounds and other observational strategies, to help people work with each other to understand what do these effective practices look like, and what's happening with students when we replace practices that aren't getting the result we want with practices that do get the results we're looking for with students. We do this work by combining the work of high impact leadership principles and practices along with the work of very valid sources of evidence-based instructional practices, with GELN's work being a primary partner in that. And then with robust cycles of inquiry that create a series of ongoing phases of growth with real-time measures so that schools can watch growth as it's happening. And we do all this with an appreciative, strengths-based, and growth-focused approach. Another part of how we work with schools is to help them establish a culture and the conditions in their schools that sustain a positive core for the work, collective ownership for the work, evidence-based decision-making processes to support the work, and a culture of organizational learning that gives people the opportunity to be safe while they're learning and growing, both students and adults. So along with these tested leadership principles and practices, our final part of the how of our work is to help schools conduct these really robust cycles of real-time change with growth targets that are actionable and can be achieved over a short period of time. The seed grant that we just received the award for will support our work for at least 3 years. And we're hoping we can achieve what we did with the first seed grant, which is to get an additional 2 years of funding. So the value in terms of grant dollar investment in every school that we serve is somewhere in excess of $100,000 worth of actual direct support. But more than that, the value added from the grant funds is that with the support we're able to provide, we increase the probability of those significant gains that I shared with you earlier. So the benefits of participation are what I want to just share with you next. They include a day a week of on-site facilitator support for the principal and the school leadership team, support from our field team of coordinators who help connect the work of the schools and the school district and help bring additional resources to bear where they're needed. Cash stipends that gives the principal and the school leadership team some dollars to work with to support their implementation work. Professional learning, both while our facilitators are in the school walking alongside the principals and teachers, but also professional learning that augments that, and I'll explain that in a few minutes. Evidence-based measures to be able to track growth and positive change. Coordination with your district, with your ISD, in any ways you want us to coordinate with people you're working with the ISD, and coordination with the MyKit process. And then along with all of that, our deep bench of researchers and practitioners. We're a project that blends research into practice, and practice informs the research to continue to strengthen the work that we do under these grants. And we're so grateful for the partnerships with schools and ISDs and districts, because the work grows exponentially by having real people put the work to work and having us right there watching how it works. And it allows us and has led to us being able to do some amazing systemic work. The last piece of this is that we have worked with the director of the Harvard Rounds Project, and in consultation with her, we've developed a systemic adaptation of instructional rounds that schools can use in any stage of their implementation process. Oh, looks like I froze a little bit. There we go. So the commitment that each school and district needs to make in order to participate is as the following. First of all, we want to make sure we get the right person on site with the principal, somebody who feels like a good fit for the principal and that principal's schools. So we want to make sure that we work with you to identify the best person to do that. In the past with the seed grant, the first seed grant we had some facilitators serve as members of employees of actually the districts. Sometimes the district has had a person that they want to develop as a facilitator. Sometimes the ISD has people they want to develop as facilitators along with their other role in the instructional division. So we've done some shared time with both districts and ISDs. And we also have recruited people from the field, people who have recently retired but have great capacity to contribute to this work. No matter how we fill your facilitator role, these facilitators get intense training and support throughout the time that they work with you. Another commitment that you'll be making is for the school principal and instructional leadership team to lean into learning and carrying out the school renewal process in ways that fit your school and school district and help achieve your growth targets, along with some specific focus on literacy or math or both, and focus on SEL development as needed for your students. We also will ask that your principals and the instructional leadership team in the school engage in just a few days of learning and networking with other school teams. One day in March, a couple days at the end of the year when school's out in June, and a couple of days, and one day in the fall in October. So all in all, only 2 days out of the school year and a couple of days after the school year is ended in the end of June. We also are providing principals with very flexible 1-hour webinars sprinkled throughout the year, and we're asking principals to engage in 6 to 8 of those so that they can continue the learning and collaboration with other principals and support each other's growth. And then we will need to work with the district finance office to demonstrate that the district is also investing in leadership development, classroom instruction development, literacy, math, SEL development. Wherever you're already spending dollars to support those broad areas, we'll help you identify how to document those dollars, make it easy for you so that we can fulfill the federal requirement for a 25% match. And then finally, we're asking you to collaborate in our feedback loop data collection process so that we can have robust data that comes back to the school and the district on how the work is going. So those are the commitments and the benefits. Our startup timeline is that we will use the next month, the month of October, to confirm the schools that are going to participate. Then once those schools are committed and we have the commitment forms from all the schools, then our independent evaluator will do a random assignment. Half of those schools will go into cohort A, the other half will go into cohort B. With the funding that we already have been awarded, we'll be able to provide the full experience for the cohort A schools for 2.5 years. And then in that final half year, we'll start serving and supporting the cohort B schools. And we'll be actively pursuing an extension with the Seed Grant Office to try to extend the cohort B school participation for the full 2.5 years as well. During October, we'll run an orientation for cohort A schools, and then we'll follow up in November with an orientation for cohort B schools so that everybody knows what to expect. And then we'll start working with all of you to start identifying and matching facilitators to serve your schools. And also in November, we'll then finalize facilitator placements, have the facilitators have an opportunity to meet and introduce themselves to the staffs. And then in December, we'll start their intense training and we'll begin to work with you to develop school strength profiles. Because as I mentioned earlier, we work from your strengths. And so we want to be sure that the first experience we have with the schools is to lift up and celebrate the strengths and assets that are already in place in your schools. Then starting in January, the facilitators would actually start their 1 day a week of in-school support. So that is the overview, and I'm going to go now back to the Jamboard. And it's time for your voices. So as soon as the Jamboard comes up, so let's start out with what people shared that they already know about the high impact leadership for school renewal work. And if you own the yellow one, would you just open your mic and tell us about what you put here is what you already know. So you might all want to get ready to open your mics because I'm going to call on you to either share what you already know or share your questions.
I think the first yellow one, that was me. I'm Michelle Runna for Muskegon ISD. I'm our secondary literacy coach / consultant. And I've been able to participate before in the instructional rounds, and it's a really kind of fun process, I think. And the outcome of it is that you identify a bunch of strengths in the district and then a bunch of growth edges around different themes. And we, at the time, the different ones I participated in, we connected those to the K-3 essential instructional practices because it was elementary buildings.
Right. And with this new seed grant, we will be able to serve both elementaries and middle schools. So that's pretty exciting. Thank you, Michelle, for sharing that. Who owns the pink one? If you own the pink one, you get to turn on your mic and share it with us. Well, it looks like it's an orphan temporarily, or I'm just not hearing the person. So, Lisa, can you share that one with us?
Absolutely. Pink one says school renewal helps support and grow current initiatives based on data and observation.
Now that's about as succinct as you can be. That is absolutely 100% true. And what about the orange one? Who owns that one? Okay, we either have a lot of people who are shy or the mics just aren't coming on. Lisa, go ahead and share that one for whoever put it there.
Sure. And some people may have had to drop off at this busy time of day.
Yep.
So it's orange says HIL school renewal guides stakeholders through a structured process of evidence-based measures to track growth.
Also, very accurate, very succinct description of the way we work. Thank you. So let's go to questions. Okay, so we'll try again. If you offered the yellow question, would you please turn on your mic if you can?
It's me again. Hey, Michelle Rana from Muskegon ISD. I'm on the 612 Disciplinary Literacy Task Force. So when I saw that you were going to be working in middle schools, I was really excited because we've been working really hard trying to get the information out about our essentials. And we would love to see a shift away from more traditional ways of teaching into more inquiry-based units of instruction. So I was just curious if you guys are planning to use those documents in the middle school or not. And we also have organizational practices, and they are aligned with the pre-K to 5.
So the answer is we're going to encourage all of our participating schools to work with the essential literacy and math practices where it's appropriate for their students and for their student growth targets. And the nice thing is those essential practices work alongside any math or literacy programs that people are using. And Michelle, you'll be happy to know that you're to your east, the Grand Rapids Public Schools is another one of our projects. We have a Promise Neighborhood grant project in Grand Rapids, and we're working with 13 schools there, and the secondary schools, middle and high schools, are going to be working with the 612 Essentials as well. So you got some folks you can network with, okay?
Absolutely. And we have lots of professional learning we can provide on our task force. If needed, just reach out. We're happy to support in that way.
Wonderful. So somebody put a question that, Stephanie Bruce. Yes, Stephanie, you want to talk about your question?
Good afternoon. I'm Stephanie Bruce. I serve at Penfield Schools. I'm just curious what specific data are used to identify the evidence of impact on math and literacy achievement, just if that's local assessment data, state assessment data. Is it something that we partner with together to select to identify the evidence?
Yeah, Stephanie, that's an awesome question. So to meet the criteria for the What Works Clearinghouse and the grant itself, we have to use state data, post hoc data. And our external evaluators do that analysis. But the process that we use within the school uses all your local data. So once your schools identify specific growth targets for students, then they also then determine what local data they're going to use to track the growth on those growth targets in real time. And that can be anything from your NWEA map assessment data, your interim assessment data, to any aspect of district assessments and also classroom assessments. And what's really cool is this really fosters a lot of collaboration between teachers in PLC and grade level groups in looking at how they can utilize classroom assessment to really track the growth of their students on these growth targets that they set. So it really encourages teachers to work together to coordinate the way they're doing classroom assessment and produce more real-time data.
Thank you, Dr. Reeves. Just to make sure I understand, so the state assessment data is used as kind of the umbrella data to report for the purpose of the grant. So that's the big indicator. And then along the way, kind of formative, if you will, we're able to use local data within the school or benchmark assessments, NWEA, anything else we might be using to help identify our progress along the way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you're also encouraged right early as we start working with you to use your local data, because your local data gets down to actionable areas of student strength and actionable areas of student growth. So we really encourage you. Part of our process is to help schools use their local data, their real-time data, to find teachable, actionable student growth targets. So on both the front end and then on the implementation side and tracking what you're accomplishing, you're really drawing heavily on local assessments.
Thank you.
There's another question in yellow. There's two more questions in yellow. I will answer the one about selecting cohorts. So when the letter that you received identifies specific schools that qualify based on your free reduced lunch, Lisa, do you want to explain how some schools in a district might have been included and some schools are not at this point in the pool?
Sure. We identified schools that met the greater than 42% free and reduced lunch. This was based on the 21 data because we originally wrote this grant or application in the spring of 22. And then we were funded a year later in the 23 grant cycle. So that was the first criteria. The second criteria was that we needed to have 3 consecutive grades in the level. So in order to track the progress, so 3 through 8, 3 consecutive grades. So there are a few schools that originally participated with HIL 1.0 that were K4 elementaries that don't fit the criteria for this group. But then there are also many others that fit the criteria that range up into the middle school grades.
So the when part is we are hoping to have all commitment forms received by October 13th, because as soon as we have all the commitment forms received, then we will turn the names of the schools that have commitment forms over to our independent evaluator. The evaluators then run a random assignment and put the schools into either cohort A or B. We should have the ability to confirm which cohort your schools are in by the 3rd or early in the 4th week of October. So again, on the question of how many schools applied, the nice thing is we had originally about 190, just under 200 schools in how many districts, Lisa? About 80 some districts, I think it was originally, with about 190 schools that originally sent in the commitment form in 2022, but then we didn't get the funding until just a couple months ago. So we started with about 190 schools, maybe a little bit over. And what we need are commitments from about 150, at least 150 in order to do the random assignment. We have funding for the full 2.5 years for the first 75 schools and funding for for 6 to 9 months for the second cohort. But again, we're very aggressive in doing good work, and based on the kind of results and the kind of work that the U.S. Department of Ed looks for, we are very competitive for extended funding. So we're hoping by managing the award that we already have well in terms of spending, and by qualifying for an extension, we can give cohort B schools close to a 2 semesters of support minimum, with hopefully the ability to go beyond that. We also know that this work has been approved already for some school districts to be paid for by title funds. So even after the grant funds are gone, we are actually now working with some schools in West Michigan through their title funds. So we are down to about 7 more minutes. Let me look and see if there are more. Oh, there's more questions. There's a pink one. Who owns the pink one?
That one's mine, Dr. Reeves. A little context behind my question. What I'm asking is kind of how will it be determined if our school is able to focus on both ELA and math? I currently work with Holton Public Schools, and our elementary school was fortunate enough to be a cohort B school during the first round of the HIL grant. And obviously we focused on ELA as that was the focus at the time. And we're hoping that our middle school will be selected to be part of this next round. And we do have a desire to raise our achievement in both ELA and math, but wondering what that might look like at the middle school level. Our facilitator at the elementary had great expertise in ELA. And so wondering, if there is just one facilitator for the middle school, will they be supporting ELA and math, or would we be better advised to just select one or the other?
We're encouraging middle schools to focus on both ELA and math because of the way staffing is organized and the way you deliver instruction, how you assign children to classes and that sort of thing. It makes sense to focus on both ELA and math. For elementaries, we will support you either way. You can either focus on both or you can focus on one. Either way, it's fine with us. As far as the facilitator goes, each school gets one facilitator, but that facilitator is supported in lots of ways. So one of the things we'll identify is what kind of support does that facilitator need from our coordinating team. We have ongoing training and development for all facilitators, so we will make sure that the facilitator has access to continuous growth themselves in any area that they need extra support on. Our partnership with GELN means we can buy services from some of those folks. And then we're hoping to have such robust partnerships with the ISD that we can we can honor the expertise that's in the ISD. And hopefully your schools are already drawing upon that wherever possible. But we won't suffer for lack of expertise in math or ELA. There will be plenty of it.
Just a follow-up question to that then, for our instructional leadership team, should we be selected for the middle school, would you recommend then we have teachers from both departments then that are part of that core team?
That would make perfect sense. And you're welcome to have ISD people who are already working with you. It's your team to create. We don't have rigid structures that we bring in. Our whole way of work is adaptive and responsive to your situation and what works best for you.
Thank you.
Do we have any more questions? Let me see if somebody put one on the next page. Nope. Okay, well, you're welcome to open your mic if you just thought of something and you don't want to take the time to put it in a sticky note. But I am going to go back to the presentation for just a moment. And hold on a second. Okay. So in the last couple minutes, I just want to encourage you to take advantage of the fact that we're here to respond to anything that you think of after we sign off today. So for the rest of the day, that Jamboard, if you copied the link, you could put additional questions into the Jamboard. Next week, we will be sending out a follow-up communication to all of you, and it will have some additional things attached to it. We'll compile a Q&A from all the questions that came up in the 3 webinars. We will send you a copy of the posting for facilitators, so you can start seeing how we're defining the work of a facilitator and the kind of people that we're looking for. Again, if you're an ISD and you've got members of your instructional division who already support schools in literacy or math or school improvement or general instructional improvement, and you would like one of those people to be trained and offer a shared relationship with one of your people. If you're a district that has people in-house that you would like to develop to be able to lead this kind of work and take it more broadly into your district, you're welcome to identify a facilitator that way. And we'll also work with you to identify people from your area who might have recently retired but have so much credibility with your schools that you would love to entice them to come back and work with you as a facilitator. So anyway, that works best for you. So that Q&A, the position posting, and further follow-up information will be coming next week. In the meantime, please take advantage of the fact that Lisa and I are here to answer your questions. You can email me, you can call me. If I don't recognize your number, it'll go to voicemail and I'll call you back. Lisa, you can email her and call her as well. Those are both our cell phone numbers. If you're not very familiar with our work, please take some time to go to our website that's listed below on this slide. And with that, it is 12:14 and we promised you we would sign off by 12:15. So I want to sign up by saying, I hope we get to work with each and every one of your districts and each and every one of your ISDs. We are absolutely convinced that the strong impact we made with the first seed grant was because of the people in the schools, in the districts, and in the ISDs who became our partners for this work. This is not work that you do by yourself. You do it with good people who are doing good work already. And our job is to come in and honor that good work that you're doing and be part of it and help you accelerate it, deepen it, and sustain it over time and get the results you want with children. Because at the end of the day, that's what we all care about. We want every child, every student in our schools to thrive, learn, grow. And if they're already a little bit behind in that learning and growth, we want to accelerate it so that they walk out of every year having made more gains and putting less and less of a gap between themselves and those children who are their peers. So with that, thank you. Thank you very much. We appreciate you taking your time today, and we hope to be working with you in the months ahead.